Welcome, everybody, to the Troubadour Show. Today, I have actor Mark Pellegrino, who has played Hamlet, and we're going to talk about his performance as Hamlet and the staging and the production of it. And his wife, Tracy Pellegrino, also has a documentary that's making the rounds of the film festival circuit. It's a mockumentary documentary called
Mockumentary.
Je suis Hamlet. And we're going to talk about that story. I know I said it horribly, but and then we're going to talk all things, or, some things, not all things, because we can go on forever and ever talking all things Hamlet. But we're going to talk about Hamlet. We're talking about some of the meaning of Hamlet, its influence, its staging, different productions, and things like that. So stick around and learn a little bit more about Hamlet. First thing, Mark, is I'd like to learn about this. Well, one, what is this comedy documentary, mockumentary? What inspired it? I know you're not your wife, but you were participating in it. She wrote it and directed it. But what was the impetus behind this story?
Well, so there's a couple of different storylines there. So first, her interest in mockumentaries comes from one of her favorite actor-directors. He's an auteur of several award-winning mockumentaries himself, Christopher Guest, who did, A Mighty Wind, and he was in Rob Reiner's Spinal Tap, and then the new version of Spinal Tap, which is, I think, coming out very soon. It was probably Rob Reiner's last thing that he directed.
Yeah.
Waiting for Guffman, of course, is a classic. Best in Show. He's done a whole slew of these amazing mockumentaries with fantastic improv actors, not improvisational, but improv actors who are really clever comedians who can get up there and make a bare bones script really fun and spontaneous. And so that was her inspiration. The way the project got going was there's some kind of French program. She lives mostly in Paris. That it's like an apprentice mentorship program for artists. One of our former students is the head of this program, and she gets people together. They give her a certain amount of money, and she organizes these actors and scenes, and they have mentors in acting and directing and filmmaking and scene study and all that. And then they compile a series of scenes, and then they view it somewhere in some, theater in Paris. And she makes money that way. Well, most of her work is sort of incoherent. And my wife thought, well, this is a great opportunity to do a real piece, and there are stipulations to the piece. Every actor in it has to be equally represented. So it had to be an ensemble cast, which is a hard thing to do, right? Because usually you have one or two folks that rise above the rest as the leads, the protagonist, antagonist characters, and the supporting cast with them. But she managed to write parts for about 12 or 13 people. And she came up with a plot line that was very interesting about a fading teenage idol who wants the world to see him as a legitimate actor. So he joins this troupe, and this troupe that's putting up Hamlet. And it's a troupe of crazy characters. I play this character, Thomas, who's an English actor who's also playing Claudius.
Okay.
And he's a bit of a method actor, and he goes off his meds to realize the part of Claudius, the intense guilt and shame that Claudius feels. He doesn't want to fake that, and he can't feel anything on his meds, so he goes off his meds to have these feelings. And of course, that leads to some very interesting shenanigans down the line.
Sure.
So anyway, she wrote this thing in 3.5 weeks. The person who was our former student more or less produced it, but Tracy, it was the one with the producing chops and AD chops. So she normally had to stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning fixing all of the production errors that were going on, and then go on the set at 7 o'clock the next day to direct. Yeah. And we shot the thing at a number of locations: a Théâtre Gouvernail in Paris, a big house at the fringes of Paris in the Paris suburbs. And those were our 2 main locations. And we shot it in about, I want to say 2 weeks, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And yeah, so right now it is making its rounds. So
It's making the rounds of the festivals. She just won Best Comedy at the Women's Chicago Film Festival,
woo,
and it's making the
okay.
rounds. And she's in contention for a couple of more awards at a couple more film festivals. So
Nice.
we're doing that. The film festivals, for anybody who doesn't know, just distributors and producers see this stuff, and hopefully they like it, and they want to distribute it. They buy the film and distribute it. So that's sort of where we're going with it now.
Yeah, that's how sometimes some more indie-ish movies will get picked up for wider distribution, of course.
For sure.
Especially, being made outside of the studio system or whatever.
Yeah.
So and I live in Austin, so there's South by Southwest, which is becoming a bigger and bigger one every year. Like it seems like it's been for a while a pretty big one, but it seems like every year the stars are getting bigger who are coming here all the time, and it's like more and more of them. And so yeah, if you're in Austin, definitely go to your local film festivals. Check out South by Southwest, and there's a lot of good ones. That's interesting. We can't watch it right now. I haven't even seen it yet. I'd love to see it. I can't wait for it to have wider distribution, which I'm sure it will have. But well, one, I wanted to ask you about this Claudius one. Now that you mentioned it, I was going to jump into Hamlet and your performance of Hamlet, but I'm curious what can if you can give us any things in like any moments from the comedy from your character in particular. So Claudius is the uncle of Hamlet. He's the brother of the king that was killed and that he kills. He's obviously dealing with a lot of guilt, which we find in the famous prayer scene where Hamlet's behind the
Oh,
curtain.
my offenses rank. It smells to heaven. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be interesting to see him portrayed in the way that you're saying to portray him. Because, like, tell me something about mockumentaries. I'm not that into them, to be perfectly honest. But you, as an actor, are doing like two or three different things all at once, right? Like, you're playing a character's playing a character, right?
Right.
And so, how do you do that? I'm curious. How do you approach something like that?
Oh, I
I'm
mean, in this case, you focus on the main character, which is Thomas, and Thomas is grappling with discovering the role of Claudius. The acting problem for that is um, is figuring out what happens to you when you go off your meds and how you
hmm,
cycle off of that and what psychological things slowly start to happen to you over time and before you fully lose control
hmm,
and so that's like pure acting, right? Because you're doing physical symptoms along with emotional stuff. The emotional stuff isn't so much acting, but the physical stuff is, and the figuring out what that's like to go off a drug that you've been on for a long period of time and what that does to you physically and mentally. That there's some homework that goes into that, and so that's mainly it. You're playing one guy, really. You're
I
playing
see.
one guy.
You
I
don't
don't
think
worry about Claudius. Just sort of happens. He happens out of the mental breakdown of Thomas, basically.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And so why does Thomas think that he needs to go off his meds? What is he trying to accomplish again?
Well, so he wants to realize the part. Any good actor out there doesn't want to indicate the part. They want to feel the part. They want to experience the part. They want everything to be real. And that's it started out as a uniquely American thing, by the way. And it since has spread out, since the advent of the group theater and Marlon Brando and all the great American method actors out there. They influenced everybody across the world. So now the Brits are even doing it.
Hmm.
And they want to experience the part. They want to inhabit the character, right? And the problem with Claudius is he's taking drugs that impede his emotional connections,
Hmm.
and he feels he feels distant from the part. He wants to connect with it. And frankly, if you're doing Hamlet and even playing Claudius in Hamlet, if you're not full of stuff, like if you're not really, really at the edge of your grip on reality and life, the play does not happen. There are just some plays like that. You can't walk through Hamlet ever. You have to be at a high, high pitch of emotionality in life and sensitivity to everything around you, or the play will not happen. And that's the same with, that's something that Thomas understands about Claudius. He really wants to feel, oh, my offenses rank, it smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it. All right, a brother's murder. Now, when you say those are huge things to say, you can't recite those lines. You have to experience a man trying. He's really trying to feel guilty about it, and he can't bring himself
That's a
there.
good way of thinking about it. Yeah.
And it's the
He's
idea that
trying to think about it. Yeah.
he can't. Yeah, I mean, all those characters, Claudius and Hamlet, have similar problems in a way, right? They're both trying to get somewhere they just can't get to.
Yeah.
And Claudius he feels guilt. He knows that he should be terribly unhappy, but he's in love with Gertrude. He's always lusted after Gertrude. He's always probably thought he was better than Hamlet Senior. He thought he was a diplomat. Hamlet Senior was a brute, a thug, a general. He was smart. He's wily and intelligent and probably felt bested. Back then, the first brother was always the best. The second brother was always left behind,
Yeah.
and so when you have that's a tremendously complicated emotional profile for a guy who's struggling with the guilt of having murdered a brother out of ambition and lust for his wife. And at the same time, the fact that he simply can't bring himself to get there, knowing that he's damned to hell forever and ever and ever for not being able to do that, for not repenting the way he should.
Yeah.
That's a terrible, terrible moral dilemma for somebody to be in.
Yeah. Which is what the play is all about, are these moral dilemmas. And I think it's what makes it so fascinating. And I never really thought of Claudius quite that way. Like, I guess I always just thought of him as just deciding, but that he wants to have the earthly pleasures, and that's it. He's not willing to go all the way with his confession, essentially. And with the guilt, I mean, like, and say, knowing that he's going to go to hell, but he's accepting these earthly pleasures and the riches and the fame and the woman and all that stuff. And that's enough for him. Because that's what stops Hamlet from killing him in that moment, is the realization. And that's why that scene is really interesting to me, because Hamlet realizes that he's confessing, so he might go to heaven, so he doesn't want to kill him, because then his father will be in purgatory, and his ghost father told him to revenge him by sending by not just a bodily but a heavenly revenge. I don't remember the words, but it's like a more than earthly revenge, which means send the guy to hell. And it seems like Hamlet even misinterprets that, because when he's not that, I'm sorry, he misinterprets Claudius in that moment, because their doctrine of Protestantism, he would go to hell because you can't accept the rewards.
He doesn't see that, though.
Hamlet doesn't see that.
He doesn't see the soliloquy. He doesn't see the struggle and the failed struggle. He only sees a man kneeling in the confession booth.
Yeah, exactly. And misinterprets it, though.
Right.
Is the point that I think is really interesting, because he's so good at interpreting things. Like, he seems to be the great interpreter, but then at that moment, he seems to misinterpret. Anyway, I'm going off on more analysis, but the play is so full of really interesting things. But can you share a moment as your mockumentary character, and then I want to we can move on to Hamlet itself, or himself. But
the only real moment you see with Claudius you see the same moment twice. You see my offenses rank. It smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon it, a brother's murder. That's what you see. And you see the first time where he's on the brink of a complete and total breakdown because he's been off his meds. He has a meltdown, I think, in the very next scene. And it's very, very full, very intense.
Yeah.
And when the director, who is actually an expat American living in Paris, says, "Very good, Thomas, very good. Thank you so much." Thomas walks off still muttering to himself, and that I sort of improvised all that, just like grieving to falling apart about the fact that I really think I killed my brother. And then you see me in another scene, because I create such chaos. They demand that I go back on my meds. And so when you see me when I revisit the scene again, I don't feel anything. I can't do it.
Okay.
And so I also, to try to overcome my emotional dullness through the psychotropic drugs I have to take to maintain sanity, I start drinking excessively to cope with all
Oh,
that. So
geez.
that
Okay.
becomes a monster in itself. That's pretty funny.
Okay. Okay. Well, we won't spoil too much, but I was just curious about any hijinks like that. Anything else you want people
It's
to know
it's
about?
mostly it's mostly mostly our students who are acting in it. People
Oh, cool.
from Tracy's Theater Company, which is Playhouse Paris. And there's a couple of American actors in it who are expats who live in Paris, and us, transferring all the things that these young students are learning about the Meisner technique, which is our approach to acting, into the real life laboratory of working. And they're all very good. There's a couple of them that are going to be massive stars. The kid who plays the Hamlet understudy, who gets pushed out of the actual lead role because he's the guy who knows how to do Hamlet, but the other guy has the clout and he
Mm.
has the money because he's a former child star. Is able to boot him out and make him the understudy, which creates a dynamic tension between the two. And the one guy's constantly trying to undermine the performance of the other guy. He just won a bunch of awards, I think, at Cannes for one of his movies that he did about it's about these Algerian soldiers who have this a very specific type of PTSD experience. It's a very, very interesting story, and he's very good, and he's won a bunch of awards. He's been with my wife since the very beginning of his acting career, and there's a couple other folks there who are going to be massive, massive stars. They're just so good.
Cool.
So I'm
Okay.
I'm anticipating that this will be their their not their breakout movie, but it'll be a movie that'll show their abilities for sure.
Good. So yeah, Hamlet is on a lot of people's minds. Hamnet just won some awards. Jessie Buckley won Best Actress for Hamnet. We don't have to talk about Hamlet right now, but it's interesting that you have your mockumentary, and I'm hearing a lot more about these things. And for me, I like that. It's an opportunity to have these kinds of conversations. But Hamlet as a role for actors does seem to be up there in the pantheon of like any actor, especially a classically trained actor, has to try to cut their chops or whatever on this role, right? And you have done that.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a
But
little?
not only that, you can play Hamlet, you can play the play Hamlet throughout your entire working career. You start off as Hamlet, which is ironic because it's the most complex part I think anybody could ever play. And when you're actually Hamlet's age, you don't have the maturity to do Hamlet. I did Hamlet at
Mm,
40. Luckily, I looked young, but still most people can't really do Hamlet until they're older, unless they're a savant. They can't. But then there's Claudius that you play in your middle age, and then there's Polonius you play as an old man, and so you could reprise Hamlet through your entire career. And there's just such amazing wisdom in there, just such
yeah,
amazing wisdom.
yeah.
You could almost open it to any page and find a maxim for living, or a maxim in there that can inform you a lot more deeply about a problem you're having in life.
I agree. There's just every time, I was even just glancing over it again today, before we started talking, and I just again thinking about even the opening lines, like who's there, stop and unfold yourself. And I always think about those lines, but it's just such a great introduction to the story, and it's just such a great introduction to Western literature, because it's like the whole essence of Western literature is this idea of self-identifying and identity, and who are you, and that kind of curse of having so much consciousness that you're constantly lost in the swimming in all these ideas, trying to figure out who the heck you actually are and what you stand for and
Wow.
what actions you're gonna take. And I just think there's so much in this story about that struggle that many of us have that I think is incredible. And yeah, it's interesting that you can, yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I couldn't imagine. How old is Hamlet exactly? He's early 20s, right? He's just out of
Yeah.
college. He's in, like, he's
Just
in,
out of Wittenberg. Yeah.
yeah, out of Wittenberg. I don't even know if he finishes. Does he finish? I think he was like
No.
yeah, he's on a year off or something. So he's probably early 20s. And
Hmm.
there is a semblance where it's like, I remember myself in my early 20s just getting into like objectivism and Ayn Rand. And there's definitely some elements, not to his level. He's like obviously the perfect model of just my over contemplating everything and overthinking a lot of different things that I
See, I
remember
never thought of
myself.
him that way. I never thought of him that way.
Well, yeah, so go ahead, but I don't think of him that way anymore either, but he definitely comes across that way. Like to like to a simple outsider,
I,
I
I
think he
think
does
if
come across that way at
I think if
first.
people are just reciting, it does come off that way.
Yeah. But go ahead.
If
So
you're
but you
not if you're not reciting, then it doesn't come off that way. If you're actually communicating, though, if you're actually using the audience as a sounding board because you're trying to get to the bottom of something. Now, remember, he's in a terrible position, right? He's been informed by
yeah.
this ghost. Is it real? Is it not? He doesn't know. Is it a temptation from hell? Is it his real father? He doesn't
Wait,
know.
you
Whatever
think
it
he
is,
doesn't know?
he doesn't know.
Okay.
That he spends the whole time. Look, why does he pretend to be antic? He's not really antic. He's not really going out of his mind. He's pretending to be antic. Why do you think he pretends to be antic? If I'm presuming you thought he pretended to be antic as well.
There are times like the time I remember, and I'm thinking the Kenneth Branagh movie, when he seems the most frantic and all over the place is with Ophelia.
Oh,
Yeah,
Ophelia.
yeah, that
Yeah, but
scene. That's because he's being watched, and he learns that
that's right.
he discovers that, or he realizes that midway through the conversation, and then he goes ape on her. Right? It
Yeah, but
starts.
I don't think I think he did that flat too. To be honest with you, I didn't
Really?
think
Okay.
it, okay, because I look, we had a very different take on Hamlet than
Then
everybody else.
canon.
If you watch Lawrence, huh? If you watch
Okay.
Laurence Olivier's take on it, he starts it off with this little thing. Hamlet is about a man who cannot make up his mind. I
Yeah.
can't imagine anything more boring. And of course, when you look at his version of Hamlet, it is self-absorbed and
It's not my
boring. Sorry.
favorite. Yeah, I
No,
agree.
it's bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Nominated for an Academy Award, but nonetheless bad.
Yeah.
Kudos to him for trying it because it's a gigantic thing. He's not a man who can't make up his mind. He's moral. He's just.
Yeah.
He has a very sound sense of justice. He's experienced something the likes of which he's unsure of what it means. Is it the devil tempting him out of his grief, or is it really his father? And if it's really his father, why is his father tempting him to do something that will damn his own soul to hell? If he's going to go to hell, he's got to make fucking sure that it's the right thing to do, that he's condemning the right person to hell, that he's going to kill the right person. So the whole time, Hamlet is solving a mystery himself. He's unmasking the falseness in the court and behind Claudius. He's testing Claudius to see if he's really the guy that his father said he was. So that he can tell, is this a demon from hell or an angel from heaven? He's waiting for that sure sign, which of course he gets during the play within the play.
Yeah,
that's when he pushes Claudius's buttons to such a degree. And when we did it, Claudius over the course of the play has more and more guards around him, right? So he's becoming more and more paranoid. So that by the time we get to the third act, and the play within the play, when I see him freak out, I literally sprung up with a dagger and flew up into the air at him, and they all held me down like the Secret Service and pushed me down to the ground and disarmed me. Because I almost killed him, and I didn't not try to. I didn't soliloquize about it. I tried to fucking kill him in that moment. And when I couldn't, the scenes that take place after that took place out of my certitude now and my determination to get it done. But I started getting it done. I was a man of action in that moment. Look, his image is just, Hamlet is juxtaposed against two other men who are his age in the show, Fortinbras and Ophelia's brother, Laertes. Laertes.
Yeah.
Both of whom are extremely impulsive. So Hamlet has the example of these impulsive men who just simply go off on what they immediately feel. And Hamlet wishes he could be that way, but he's simply too just. He's not the kind of general to send people into the meat grinder of war. He would probably mourn every innocent casualty that was out there and be very circumspect about risking anyone's life unnecessarily. So he's that guy who unfortunately has men of action, pure action, no thought, to measure himself against. And that's why he comes up lacking, because he thinks he has all this motivation, but he questions whether or not it's real motivation or the temptation of the devil. And he needs to discover that before he takes action. So So
Oh,
our
that makes
Hamlet was
sense.
active. Our Hamlet was active. He wasn't
Really?
passive. He wasn't. He wasn't. Of course, he beat himself up when he didn't feel like he was measuring up. But all of those moments are reflected off of the audience, not as soliloquies or monologues or things self-contained in themselves, but using the audience as a real sounding board in an attempt to get to the fucking answer. To get to the answer. That's what Hamlet wants. He wants answers. He wants certitude.
Yeah, and I think there's what you're getting at. I agree with 100% in terms of there's a perception of the thinker generally, like in the in cultures or in the West, of just not ever being men of action. It's either you're either a man of action or you're a man of thought. The idea of an integrated hero of man, of thought and action is pretty absurd. And this is a story that does focus on, I think, Hamlet's trying to figure out what is the right course of action. So he cares about the right course of action. It's
Yes,
not about I don't know what to do. It's I want to do the right thing. And I think that
exactly.
is a much and that is what I came to understand about Hamlet after, reading him a couple times over the years. But I think on a first look, and again, just as a colloquial, just a normal person reading it with the cultural influences we normally get of this view, is it does feel like he's just this contemplative, woozy intellectual who's just out, kid out of university who's like sprouting off ideas to their father, and mom's like, calm down and stuff like that. Like I do think there's a feel of that, and it's wrong. I don't think that's that's what it is. I agree. I mean, I think this is the first time in Western literature, especially in drama, when we get this deep kind of thoughtful psychological hero. And there's a lot more that, eventually comes after them. And actually, I didn't know this until recently, but and I've read a little bit of Russian literature, but in the 19th century, a lot of Russian writers referred to themselves as like Hamlets, as little Hamlets. And there's, I don't, did you know that? I did not
No,
realize that. Like Turgenev and even Dostoevsky and a couple Russian writers thought of themselves like this. And there was a whole class of Russian, because there is a lot of like in the Russian literature, there is a lot of this deep, long contemplations of, like Raskolnikov is a great example of this, of just what is, good, thinking about action in a variety of different ways and thinking about morality very seriously, which Hamlet does. I mean, that's why he doesn't kill Claudius, is because he's, I think of him as a Protestant hero. Like he is a hero of that particular Protestantism that's around in the 1600 Shakespeare time, and because he's really thinking about life after death and what he's been taught, and even some of his first lines, when he's thinking about self. I can't say because we're going to be on YouTube on self harm, self ending, when he kind of is
in
contemplating.
the to be or not to be
No,
speech.
even before that, I think there was a line when he kind of says, I wish there wasn't this law against it, right? And I think it's in the to be or not to be seen as well, but more clearly. But I remember him saying something.
Maybe
Anyway,
it's oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I.
yes, thank you. And that
That's one of his. He beats himself up pretty good in that one.
yeah, and well, he does a lot. That he definitely does do. I think he definitely is pretty hard on himself sometimes. And
Yeah, I mean, as a moralist is, as somebody who wants to do the right thing and not just do, they
yeah,
are hard on themselves. And when he has the spectacle of Fortinbras and Laertes in front of him, all the while being men of action, he's going to feel self-conscious about that. He's going to feel that there's something missing, perhaps, in his character, and he mourns that. He mourns that there's something potentially missing in his character that makes him not just act impulsively, but not act cautiously, but act thoughtfully.
my favorite speech. I mean, I love the to be or not to be speech, of course, but it is, and I did a whole video on this. It is the how all occasions do inform against me, where he talks about what is a man, and this is when I think, um,
What a piece of work is a man.
yeah, what is a piece of work as a man, and it's all about this idea of he thinks now of himself as being cowardly because he didn't act, and it's all about taking action. I think that's what the whole story, that this whole, thing, I think it comes in late in act 4.
It's with
right before.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Yeah, it's like right at the end. But then he takes actions, and I always take him in act 5 as like he has decided, he's clear on what he's going to do. They give him an out for the duel, right? I think Horatio says something like, "Do you reconsider?" And he's like, "Nope." And, like, I always think of Hamlet in act 5 as much more, he's made up his mind a little bit more.
Resigned himself to what has to be done by that point.
To taking the action that is necessary. But I am curious about your, so this is a 4-hour play, if done like Kenneth Branagh did the 4 hours. And before we talk about maybe a couple different versions of the movies, what you didn't like, what you did like, I'd be curious about your staging of it, your production. You guys cut it down a little bit, which, by the way, is very normal. I think almost everybody has to cut this down because, 4.5 hour play with modern people is a little challenging. Although it would be cool sometimes, but even, it also just takes like twice the money and twice everything. And it's like, it's a big ordeal. So what did you guys cut? Why did you cut? And then,
so what we did was we saw pretty much every filmed production there is of Hamlet, and we saw a Royal Shakespeare Company production of it. We went to Stratford on the Avon and watched that. We saw a few theatrical versions of Hamlet, none of which were good, by the way. Now I don't mean to. No.
Oh man,
the Hamlet at the Royal Shakespeare Company was particularly bad.
Oh, sorry, the theatrical ones you saw.
The theatrical versions,
not movie versions.
No, there were some movie versions that I like, but probably not the ones you think.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second, but continue.
The version we wound up using was Campbell Scott's version. I don't know if you saw Campbell Scott's Hamlet, but he actually edited the play himself for the film version of it. He's not bad, by the way. But the edited version was very, very good. We liked the cuts so much. They seemed seamless, right? The play, the scenes that were left out really did seem extraneous. So it pared it down to about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, somewhere in there. A manageable, maybe even 3, I don't remember, but a manageable version of the play from Campbell Scott's version.
Okay. We'll have to check that one out then. That one was 2,000. 2 hours and 58 minutes. So
there you go. Like right around
3 hours. Yeah, right under the 3 hours. So he cut out a good hour and a half or so. So you used that as inspiration, and then you did your own version of that.
Yes, and I don't remember all the specific cuts, but they're certainly in this book. This was the book that I used. You can see it has no cover on it because I read this play twice a day, every day for almost 2 years. The whole play. Not just my part, the whole play.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So, like, that's interesting. So I was not planning on asking actor questions, but so do you do that typically with scripts? Do you read the whole thing almost every day? Oh, I never thought of that. I would just read my parts, and I'll read around the scenes, but I never thought.
No, you want the whole context of the play in you because
I'm not saying I don't ever read it. I'm just saying, like, I don't read it like you do. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you should.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, yeah.
Like, because your subconscious does a lot of work on the piece when you're doing it like that. And then you have the whole universe of the play within you, not just your parts, but the whole universe of the play, the whole context. You always know where you are in that world. Yeah. Because unless you just have, one of those crazy minds that can just do all that, I have to read the play multiple times. So does Anthony Hopkins. So does Walton Goggins. So does Robert Duvall. I mean, in the end, like, Robert Duvall is famous for being a student of Sandy Meisner, but when push comes to shove, he's like, yeah, Sandy taught me some things, but what I do is I just read the script over and over and over and over again. I read it 200 times and then put myself in the given circumstances.
Yeah.
And I teach acting. I teach a technique of acting, but when push comes to shove, all it's really about is me reading the script 200 times and then putting myself in the given circumstances.
Yeah.
So I would read it until I knew it all.
Interesting.
And then it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget their stuff. You can relax and just ride the wave. And I do homework, of course. There are things I thought about and daydreamed about. I mean, I even think I might have come out into the coronation scene with dirt on my knees because I'd been at my father's grave, and when I come in late to the coronation party where Gertrude and Claudius are in your face in love in front of everybody. When my wife directed that, half of the court hated Claudius, half of the court loved him. There were internal rivalries in each of the
Oh,
individual members
fun.
of the court.
Yeah,
Some were
yeah,
on my side and supported me. Some were very weary. They had their whole stories sort of figured out, and you could see those dramas playing out on stage when I was there. Super fun.
yeah.
Um, and so,
This is the mockumentary.
no, this is our play. This is
Oh,
our
so
play.
Tracy also directed the play.
She directed the play,
Okay.
which was, it was after you do Hamlet, really nothing should make you afraid because you've done Hamlet and there's nothing that comes close. So yeah, you do homework and imagination work and you daydream about things and you make things personal that you might not relate to, but in the end, you read the play a lot.
Yeah.
Every line of it. Every line of it.
Okay, that's good advice. Yeah.
I do that with every television show. I read
Read the whole script. Yeah.
multiple times. Like
Multiple times.
you don't have that much time in TV. Like
Yeah.
you usually do an episode in 8 days, but in 8 days, I read a script maybe 30 times.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's how I memorize it.
Yeah. Like I said, I always would read. I mean, I've only done it a couple times as an amateur. I would just read the whole script. Yeah, maybe once or twice, but then I would focus on my lines, and then that's what I would try to memorize. But it makes sense because, I'm obviously I'm not doing it enough. Anyway, I won't get into acting advice for me. That's not what I was calling about.
Yeah, but that's good. It's good to know that, don't you think?
Yeah,
I think it's good for people who are watching the show who are interested in acting.
If you're interested in acting, that's really good advice. Yeah, yeah. Because I'll just say what happened to me in the few times that I did do some stage acting for Shakespeare. I played the small roles, just Prince and Romeo and Juliet or something, and I just found myself.
There are no such thing as small roles.
Okay, thank
small
you.
Actors.
Well, that was probably me. But I found myself just thinking about the words in advance to make sure I didn't mess them up. Obviously, if I had 10 or 20, 30x'd the amount of times I'd read the whole script and that part, it would have been much more natural for me. So it's really good advice.
Well, yeah. So then you're not in the moment. You're not listening, right? You're not really taking in anybody else. And so your experience is inorganic, and likely the audiences, I mean, they're very forgiving. The audiences are very forgiving, but likely their experience isn't really on it either because you're not in there. You're not really engaged. I find that the more engaged you are and the more you're really communicating, the more the audience is drawn in by that. Just unconsciously, they start leaning forward in their chairs. I mean, people came to our Shakespeare, which we did in 2005, who never saw Shakespeare in their life, and they understood it completely. And you don't get that with people who are not used to Shakespeare. They understood every word, everything that was going on. And that means that we were really communicating. But I mean, we worked on it for a year and a half to communicate like that. Yeah. So I don't know if I might be in the same boat as you if I'm just looking at a script for 6 weeks and it's fucking Shakespeare,
Yeah. Yeah, we only had a few weeks to prepare. That's the problem of smaller, local theaters. But so in your year and a half and work, how many performances did you guys get to do?
We did it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think we might have done a couple of shows on Sunday, and we did it for about 3 months. And the director of our school wanted me to put it up in perpetuity, and I'm like, no.
In perpetuity? Oh wow, okay.
No.
All right, that'd be cool. So then we can go see it. You could still be doing it.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. I get it. You were already an established actor at that point. Acting. I mean, you've been acting your whole career, like your life, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
you're not a child actor, though. Is that right?
No.
You're not a child. Yeah. So you started.
No.
But
25.
So you've been acting for a few years at this point when you did this. Mm-hmm. Did this what did this change in your whole approach to acting, doing Hamlet?
I mean, for a time, it made me, fearless because I did Hamlet. So nothing bothered me. It's like going into the gym and deadlifting 800 pounds. It's like, really? 150, 200, 2 plates? Fuck you. Bang. You just do it easy. Sure. I mean, that was only a temporary experience because then whatever neurosis I brought to my work at the time resurfaced until I was able to cure that. But you know, you have an experience of that magnitude, and literally nothing can bother you anymore because you're working on a very, very high level. Now, most people only recite, so they're only working on a certain level. But if you're trying to really bring truth to the part, if you're trying to wrap your mind around the concepts and also your guts around the emotional circumstances, you're going to be better. You're going to be like a better actor for the attempt. Even if you fail at it, you're going to be you're going to be better for the attempt. So it just cured me of any anxiety about acting in front of anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that, yeah, that would make sense. It'd just be a confidence builder par excellence. So
Yeah.
good advice. Do Hamlet as soon as you can as an actor. Because if you could do it, you could do anything.
Well, I mean, yeah, grapple with it, but
At least grapple
anticipate
with it. Yeah.
you're gonna do it badly probably, but that's okay.
Yeah. So movies. Which so I'll be honest, I did love the Kenneth Branagh one. Um, and yeah, I did. I loved the whole thing. I thought it was amazing. I was riveted the whole 4 hours. Didn't need to pause, didn't need to stop. Even in my social media crazy world, I like was in it. And now, so I'm curious, like, what is your favorite? Is this one your favorite? The one you mentioned, the Campbell Scott, or is it just the one you
No,
used?
I think it's good, and I thought Campbell Scott is a much smarter actor than Kenneth Branagh, and so
Okay.
he was able to edit the pieces that I think made editorial sense. And if you listen to Campbell do books on tape and stuff, like, because he reads novels and stuff all the time, he's very good. He's
Okay.
a very smart actor. I mean, his dad is George C. Scott, for crying out loud. So it's like he comes from a great pedigree. And Kenneth is just rushed. Now the film is absolutely gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
very, very well shot. Um, Kate Winslet is amazing as Ophelia.
Yeah. And
Kenneth Jacobi, Derek Jacobi is amazing as Claudius. Uh, his supporting cast is super good. He's rushed, and
huh.
he says things fast. He alliterates well, so you know exactly what he's saying. Unlike like Ian McKellen, I can almost never understand when he does Shakespeare, except one time when he did a very good speech on like late night
Colbert.
host Colbert. He did a
Yeah.
great speech there, and I was like, wow! For the first time I understood him in Shakespeare. Normally,
Oh,
I have to
no.
turn him off.
Okay.
Normally, I have to turn him off. But he was great
He
then.
does an Odyssey narration that I actually kind of like. He does the whole Odyssey in an audiobook version of Fagle's The
That's
Odyssey.
great.
And I thought it
That's
was
great.
pretty good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, I've only seen him do Macbeth and part of King Lear, and
In movie
I
or
tried to get through the movie. Well, they were the taped versions of the Royal Shakespeare
Rose?
Theater,
Okay. Okay.
and then I tried to get through Richard III, his version of Richard III. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
Um, and I turned off King Lear very early because I couldn't understand a word he was saying.
Okay.
And that's not a play you want to get through if you can't understand
Yeah. I mean,
Lear.
Shakespeare in general isn't like that. You like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
enunciation is number one. You got to get
I
that
mean,
down.
and I'd read that play, 12 times, and I've seen it done, interestingly, never well, but interestingly. I'd certainly like to see that play done. Actually, I saw an episode of Slings and Arrows. The Lear was very good in that, but it was a guy. The actor was supposed to actually be having Alzheimer's. He was supposed to be going through dementia, and they incorporated that storyline into the Lear character. So he's like Thomas
Hmm.
Claudius. He's actually having the experience in his
Yeah.
own life. His own life becomes Lear, like Thomas's life becomes Claudius for a time. And I did like that. Yeah, so Kenneth Branagh's version I thought was beautiful. I thought the supporting cast was amazing. I thought he was fast. Now, look, he's got a 4-hour play to do, and he's got to get those words out. But it gave the piece, it made the piece shallow to me. And
Hmm.
Hamlet can't be shallow. Now, look, as an audience member, we take a lot of that the prose and the poetry in, and it's so deep that it doesn't really matter that the actor, isn't necessarily the right vessel for it, because the words are so impactful and meaningful. If you're just listening to the music of the words, it's almost enough. But I thought he was way rushed. I couldn't get through Burton's version either.
Okay.
The second I heard "Seems, madam, no, it is, nay, it is. I know not seems," I was like, that's so wrong.
I was going to bring that line up too, but is that how he performs that? Yeah,
that's in the coronation scene.
Aye, madam. It is come.
If it be, why seems it so particular with thee?
Seems, madam, nay, it is. I know not seems.
Yeah, that's the answering his mother, Gertrude. Yeah.
His heart is broken. He can't declaim like this.
I guess I don't notice these things. Yeah, I guess I have seen that one.
He has a broken heart. The mother who he thought was the paragon of virtue is actually not. She's been taken in by a shyster, by somebody who Hamlet seems to be so far beneath his father. And she's reveling in it. It's not just, she's not even ashamed of not feeling the grief that she should be feeling for the man who's passed. She's reveling in her relationship with Claudius. There's a part of me that understood that. My own mom separated from my stepfather, who is a very bad man, but I was very broken up by the separation nonetheless. Immediately she's dating somebody else and gone.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Now, I was like, I wanted her to be happy, but I felt abandoned and fucked over. There was a complex cloud of emotional life for me as a 15-year-old, feeling abandoned by somebody suddenly. The moral tenor of my feeling then was not unlike Hamlet's at the time. So when I said seems, I was aghast that she could even say such a thing to me.
Yeah.
Because she's basically telling me to sit down and shut up, stop making so much noise, stop crying.
Huh.
It would be like somebody telling me to stop mourning over Frankie now. It's been 6 months. What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
It completely invalidates your sense of value. Like when your highest value leaves this earth, they've earned every fucking tear you cry. And for somebody to say, what's wrong with you? To make you seem pathological for mourning, it's highly offensive. And that has to come from a wounded place, not a place of declaiming the poetry.
Yeah. Man,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, I really wish we could talk about Hamlet, because that, I think, is the core of that movie, actually, what you just said.
Yes. I mean, I know something about the story because, I went to Shakespeare's home and I listened to, and I know, reading and researching Hamlet, what it was based on. So, I mean, I could talk about it from that, but not from the movie's perspective, but I can still talk about it.
Well, I think the movie takes I know the movie takes liberties on what we actually know and don't know about his life. But I'll just say, because I don't want to spoil it. I hope you'll go watch it, but just the grief part and the, how you really feel internally versus how you seem externally, which I think is a big theme in Hamlet itself. And
it is.
That's what you're talking about right there is, it's that scene. And it's, I've always found Gertrude this very interesting character. She apparently only has 70 lines in the whole 14,000 lines of this play. She has like 70, but they're always very important moments. And I was reading some interesting essays about how she was always treated throughout history from a critical standpoint, where, just as a kind of Desdemona, how she's kind of just a light character that's just a kind of almost a sexless creature is how they're always trying to put her in.
Really?
In Victorian era. No. Gertrude.
Gertrude.
Yeah.
Sexless?
And that's how Victorian era, there's a lot. So there's interesting feminist essays in the 1950s breaking out a lot of the way that men have interpreted Gertrude over the years, because I think they wanted to see her that way. So it's really interesting about how interpretation goes into these things, but they wanted to see her as like how Hamlet wants to see her, I think, which is this, she's not supposed to have sex. That the bedroom scene, I think he kind of confronts her in this kind of way. I don't remember the line, but it's just about this idea of not wanting to, that she's over 45, so she can't possibly be enjoying her sexual appetite. Is kind of the implication. But anyway, the seems the internal and external thing is what I was trying to say in this moment. Gertrude is pointing out that he seems, downtrodden.
She basically says, and I'm paraphrasing, everything must die, basically.
Yes.
Everything. Yeah. Everything must pass from here to eternity. So why seems it so particular with thee? Why is this such a big deal when in life all that lives must die? Why are you so bent because of this?
Yeah, and then he gets triggered in a good way, the sense of it means something, like seems name. I got the line, seems madame, nah, it is, I know not seems, does not alone my inky cloak cold mother. It should say, well, that's a different translation. Sometimes it says really? Good mother. Well, yeah. Really?
Yeah, it's not alone my inky. I don't know that translation, but it's not alone my inky cloak, good mother, nor customary suits of solemn black, no, nor windy suspiration of forced breath. All that stuff. Yeah. He's talking about those indeed may seem. Yeah. But I have that which in with passeth show.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And the whole play is him trying to figure out what is the inside of himself and other people, which is why it's so brilliant that there's the play within the play. He's such an actor himself, and he's aware of acting, and he's fascinated by actors, like the troupe that comes in, and that I just love that it's art and theatrical art that brings out the inner truth of somebody. And he uses that, the mousetrap play to kind of trap somebody, to trap his uncle Claudius in revealing the truth. But of course, again, going back to
our play poster, not to interrupt you, but our play poster
please interrupt.
Was a mask falling off another mask. We thought that was Hamlet's thing. He was unmasking everyone, trying to get to their inner truth, what really made them tick. Not just him. He's certainly doing that with him, but his task is to find the truth.
Yeah. And he's a truth seeker for sure. He wants to know. Yeah. He wants to know. And he takes ideas seriously. He's I don't agree with his philosophy necessarily, but he believes in it, and he's going to live by it. He's going to live and die by that sword. And so I definitely respect him for that. And that's why, like some of these interpretations of him as just a kind of dilly-dallying, going back and forth. I agree with you. It really is bothersome, and just an easy way to write off an idealist or somebody who's really serious about ideas. But anyway, so finish off, because I know we need to let you go pretty soon. But what are some movies? I don't know if we got to your favorite one yet.
Did you say your favorite? I didn't. I mean, I don't mean to poo-poo the Kenneth Branagh version. That's okay. I like everyone in it, and the style of it is grand and amazing and beautiful to look at. Yeah. And it's a daunting task to take on the entire play, every single word of it. So kudos to him for doing that. It's just too fast, and it makes his acting rather one-dimensional. But he's not that deep an actor anyway. So I think he did the best he could with it. Who did an amazing job, but I disagree with the director Franco Zeffirelli's interpretation of the play for a number of reasons that I'll make plain to you. It was Mel Gibson's version. Mel Gibson was good in that play. He was very good.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles.
The problem with the play is there's no Horatio. And Horatio is the only person that Hamlet reveals himself to. He's the only person Hamlet trusts in the whole world. And so that's an important sounding board for him, because Horatio is a powerful character. He's not just he's not a slough off character. He's not a secondary character that should be cut out of the piece, because Hamlet reveals his inner soul to him, and he thinks about life with Horatio, and Horatio is bold enough to question him. They go back, in time with each other, so that there's no pretense. There's no pretense as there would be with anybody else addressing the prince. They know each other as men and friends, and he knows Horatio is an intellectually honest and virtuous man, and so he's the one that he trusts his inner soul to, and you have to have Horatio there. Because it can look like a self-indulgent guy unless you're hearing him plot with Horatio. And he can look like an aloof, an arrogant sort of character unless you see his heart through Horatio. You see a lot of his heart through Horatio. So I loved Mel Gibson. And I told Mel Gibson that I worked with him shortly after he did that piece. And I was like, I thought you were amazing, man. And he told me some of the things that he had to put up with on that shoot. And if you want me to tell you one story,
yeah, of course, I do like that. I like that version for sure.
Okay, so Franco Zeffirelli, it seems like a really difficult director to work with, and I don't think I would have ever wanted to work with him because Mel told me that he had a lens on that had such a depth of focus, or like a shallow depth of focus, so much so that if you moved any way like around, you would go out of focus. So he couldn't really move, number one.
Yeah.
The exact scene I'm talking about is the to be or not to be speech, one of the most important speeches in all of English literature.
Yes.
I think Mel had to do that in 3 different locations, at 3 different places, at 3 different times in the shoot, spaced out weeks beyond each other. So not like even sequentially.
Not even doing the whole thing at once.
Right.
So you have to like get into it midway or something. Oh,
I don't know. I didn't ask him how he got into it at the time, but yeah. I mean, he couldn't move out of focus too much. So, and when a director is that exacting with the technical aspects of the work, they make you think about it. And as the actor, you shouldn't be fucking thinking about that. You gotta let the cameramen do their thing. And there's a part of you that has to be aware of certain things so that you are in focus. But you can't be so aware that if you move an inch this way, or inch this way, or an inch this way, you're out of focus and the whole shot is ruined. That's just too much. That's asking too much of the actor. You're asking the actor to split their awareness and be in 2 places at once, and then they can't really be anywhere fully. And the camera would catch that, but Mel was so good that I didn't see it.
Yeah, he still played it off. Yeah, it seems like, I'm not in that world, but it does seem like there are certain directors that really just think of actors as, paint on like that they're painting, and they're going to tell you exactly how to do things this way. And then there's other directors that have more freedom and it's more collaborative and they want to actually work with an actor. And that's interesting. Yeah. And I remember there's stories about Romeo and Juliet, the Zeffirelli Romeo and Juliet, that was pretty wild and inappropriate and, things that probably shouldn't have been happening. So that director, is known for that.
I mean, I know stories about Endless Love when he directed that with Brooke Shields, how he tried to get her to have the moment when her virginity is taken from her, what that moment looked like, what he did to her to get that moment to happen.
Yeah, some creepy stuff that's definitely happened in the film industry. Unfortunately, it's not funny, but unfortunately. But yeah. Okay, so wait, which one is your favorite? It's not the Mel Gibson.
I don't know that I have gotten to it. I mean, I don't know that I have a favorite.
Okay. You have moments like you like this, you like Ophelia in the Branagh version.
And Claudius.
You like Mel Gibson's rendition. So you like different.
I like Mel.
So there's not one
aspects of a lot of them, right?
There's not one that you like. If you had to choose one to watch on a desert island now, which one would you take with you?
Oh, wow. I mean, I would probably take the Branagh version because it has the whole play. I'd want to hear the whole play.
Yeah. I think that's part of why I liked it for sure. But I just don't have the depth of experience and knowledge you do in this world, even the Shakespeare world. I've read a lot of them, but I just don't have the experience. So like, I'm not at a level where I can compare them in that way. I did do a little comparison of Branagh and against Andrew Scott's in one of my videos, and because Andrew Scott did
to be or not to be.
No, this is the how all of occasions do inform against me. That's my favorite speech. I love that speech. I don't know what it is. Well, I do know it is when he makes the decision, and he talks about the kind of thing that holds some thinkers back, and he doesn't want that to be him, to have 3 parts, courage or whatever, or to be 3 parts of coward. And I really liked the Branagh version.
All occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge. What is a man? If his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed, a beast, no more. Sure, he that made us with such large discourse, looking before and after, gave us not that capability and godlike reason to fust in us unused. Now, whether it be bestial oblivion or some craven scruple of thinking too precisely on the event, a thought which quartered hath but 1 part wisdom and ever 3 parts coward, I do not know why yet I live to say this thing's to do, sith I have cause and will and strength and means to do it.
I'm still trying to decide. I've watched it over and over again now. I'm still trying to decide if that's just partly because of the cinematography. Because it does have like Fortinbras behind him, and like there's armies marching, and he is in the snow, and it's moving forward. And Andrew Scott just has a black screen. He's on a stage, and he does do a great job.
I saw Andrew Scott's To Be or Not to Be.
I've seen that one too, and that's good. Yeah.
I don't know. I love Andrew Scott. Let me just say this, okay? And I'm being hypercritical because To Be or Not to Be it's impossible. But I saw a lot of pausing. He took a lot of time, which I like, but it felt like a guy taking time. It didn't feel like a guy thinking through possibilities to me.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like Andrew Scott, I like him generally. He always brings such a interesting manic energy to everything, I feel.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot of times, but sometimes it just, for me, doesn't hit correctly. So yeah,
I mean, it works as Moriarty. It works as Moriarty.
It definitely worked as Moriarty. Yeah, that's
even his strange cadence, works as Moriarty. But I don't know that it necessarily translates over to Hamlet contemplating whether he should act or not, contemplating whether he should just die or live.
Well, and I do think that a lot of people just don't understand Hamlet, like just generally don't understand him. Reading Ayn Rand and seeing what an idealist who's a man of thought and action can look like, especially in characters like Hank Rearden. And then I think even Russian literature, you see this where there's, or I think of Jean Valjean is always a good example for me of just a person who's really trying to deliberate on what he should do. Like I think about him in the attic in the book, not the play. I love the play, or the musical, but yeah, he's in the attic, and this is after he's the mayor, and he's debating, morally. I don't know if you remember the scene of whether he should go give up all that he's accomplished since he was a prisoner and the Bishop of Digne gave him, the silver, and he goes and becomes mayor, and he's, he's got that big factory and he's employing all these people and they're relying on him. But then a poor guy is captured. Javert thinks that this is Jean Valjean that he's captured, just some bum that escaped. And it's like, oh, now we're going to put him in jail for extra time because he escaped again. And Jean Valjean, the real Jean Valjean is up in this attic, and he's going back and forth trying to deliberating on whether he should give himself up. So that means giving up all of what he's accomplished, all the help he's doing and the good that he's doing. He's doing such Christian good, but it's his name, and he's allowing somebody to be punished for his name. So it's like, but that idea, what
a great moral dilemma.
Yeah. And it's just such a great dilemma. And again, I just think there's so many of these characters that Jean Valjean then does eventually go and give himself up. He makes that's the right decision to do, that he doesn't want to live as that person who let somebody else be punished in his stead. And I just think that a lot of people don't understand Hamlet and that kind of strong moral character who cares deeply about morality. You know, I brought up like Ayn Rand, but there's like Hank Reardon, Dagny Taggart, who they do, you know, they do think about what's the right course of action, whether they should just give it up, and they take it very seriously. And there are great characters like that. I think they all come from Hamlet. I think he was the first of them in that sense. Even in Andrew Scott, who's very talented and great in so many things, I don't know that they really understand what that looks like that kind of person. I don't know.
You know, and I don't know that I did either, but I think I came fairly close. I certainly thought about it a lot and put a great deal of work into it. And I thought we succeeded very well with what we had. And I still practice it from time to time with students that come in. They want to play with Shakespeare, and my wife makes me go up there and do scenes with them, scenes with them. Okay. So kudos to him though. He's a great actor. He's
I love Andrew Scott.
Actor.
Yeah,
and Shakespeare will really it'll really expose you.
Yeah,
it'll really expose you.
I love reimaginings, not restructuring and just doing whatever you want with Shakespeare, but just using him as a platform to rethink things, because he's so robust. You can do that. And I think it's the beauty of interpretations, where it's like there's just so many different ways to experience them. And I always tell people, like, one of the beauties of theater, like non-theater people, is like, who don't ever go to the theater, is one of the great things about it is you read it for yourself, you kind of do your own directing in your head, and then you get to see other people who spend their life doing this stuff and how they interpret it. And then you can have different interpretations that from different people, and you can really enjoy the just robustness and the fullness of life in that way.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, thanks, Mark. I appreciate you. I don't know if you had any final words on Hamlet and Suis. I know. Now I'm just messing. But
Je suis would be the past tense, I think, of it wouldn't be I am. It would be I was, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways.
No, it would be je suis maybe, and you'd have some other verb on there that would be past tense. I don't remember how the grammar works. I'm terrible at grammar. Yeah, anyway, I mean, if you're going to, I think you should go to film festivals, guys, and watch films, see how up and coming filmmakers are making films, read good scripts. If you can, if you're writing scripts, read good scripts or from writers that you really admire. And it gives you a sense of their structure. And watching films and then going to the Q&As afterwards will give you a sense of how these films are made. And you'll see how determined people are, because it takes a lot of determination to get a film made. My wife certainly has that level of determination, because she didn't let anything stop her from getting this film made. And if you can, read Hamlet, read Shakespeare. I mean,
definitely
like reading Rand. There are some authors, the Russian authors that you were talking about, Rand, Shakespeare, they elevate you. When you read them, it's like working out at the gym. Your brain gets bigger and stronger when you're grappling with the ideas that they write about.
Yep. You live a better life, I think.
I think so too.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'll see you next time.